Welcome back to the 24 Days Personal Branding Challenge. I'm your host, Asley Maslow, and it's day 16. Today, we're going to talk about your writing style guide for your personal brand. This is going to help you define a voice and a tone that stands out and makes you more recognizable and memorable. It's going to help you avoid grammar errors and inconsistencies. It's going to help you position yourself as a leader, look more professional, and more. So let's get into today's training. We're going to talk about what it is, how it helps you, and how to create your own writing style guide and how to actually use it so that you actually benefit from it. It's not just some exercise that then sits there and does nothing. Okay. So what is a writing style guide? A writing style guide is a set of standardized writing practices required for a project, brand, industry, or field of study. Style guides establish rules for writers and editors so they can produce content with consistent capitalization, spelling, punctuation, formatting, and grammar conventions. So for you as a personal brand, it's the guide of how you want things written so that it can be consistent across the board. Nothing comes across as more unprofessional as when there are just inconsistencies. And it's so easy to fix that just by having these rules in place and following them. So there are 5 benefits of having this writing style guide. And here they are. Number 1 is to define and use a voice and tone that stands out and makes you more recognizable and memorable. So when you're consistent with how you write and you write in the tone of the brand you're trying to portray. So we worked on that earlier. Now this is going to help you actually bring that into life by consistently speaking in a way that aligns with the personal brand that you're creating for yourself. Second, it helps you avoid grammar errors and inconsistencies. So there are different ways to spell different things depending on what official writing style you're following, or if you live in a certain area, or some words just have 2 different ways you can write them. And you want to consistently be using the same version of a word or spelling it the same way or capitalizing it the same way every time you use it so that there's just a consistency, professionalism that you're bringing to the table. Number 3, it positions you as a leader and helps you look more professional. So like I was saying, it's just going to elevate your overall personal brand by doing this. Number 4, you're going to be able to produce content quicker by having less decisions and or questions. So especially if you're working with a team or you're newer to creating your own content, maybe already deciding how you're going to capitalize different things or spell different things is going to allow you to move more quickly versus every time you have to maybe go back and look how you did something previously to make sure it matches, or otherwise you're just using different versions and it's not going to look as professional and put together as it can. Number 5 is to have consistency across all content, no matter who produces it. So this is especially helpful as you start bringing on team members or contractors. If you have these rules in place, it'll be very easy for them to, 1, be consistent with how you like to spell things or the grammar you like to use, but it'll also help them to be able to write in your voice and make it sound like you. So let's get into the questions. I've actually already created the workbook. So this is the first time that I'm teaching one of these lessons with the workbook already created. So it's a little bit easier. So decide first if you want to follow an official writing style guide. Or style. So if you remember, like in high school or if you went to college, we had those books of how to write like a different essay, or some teachers would require it in Chicago. I know I come from the journalism world, so we always used AP. So decide if there's a certain writing style, one of those, or there are other ones that you want to base what you're going to have your style guide be, so that you don't have to create all of the rules. But that kind of gives a really good foundation, especially as you start working with other people. It'll be really easy for them to follow that versus creating all of your own rules, right? If you're wanting to write really clear and concisely and write in a way that pretty much anyone can understand it, I would recommend AP. As journalists, we use that because it's very easy to understand. It's very clear and concise, which in a lot of marketing, you're going to want to write in that way as well. So that's what I would go with, but it's totally up to you. Throughout the other questions, you're going to really figure out what all is going to be in your writing style guide. And if there are any points of if you chose an official writing style, there might be some places that you want to deviate from that. And this is where you would take note of that. And also with all of this, you can build this and make decisions as you go versus trying to sit down and figure it all out. If you already have a lot of things written, I would look at what you already have. Maybe if you already wrote a book, it might be in a certain format and you just want to stick with that. Or if you already have a bunch of blog posts or social media captions, you can look through that and see if there's certain words that you write a certain way that there can be multiple ways to write it. Those are all things that you're going to put inside of your writing style guide. So the second thing that you're going to want to do is to gather your answers from these previous lessons. So day 3, your industry, day 4, your niche, and day 6, your content pillars and brand topics. So in the workbook, I have where you can fill in these blanks, but you can also just do it on a piece of paper. Or if you want the actual workbook, then I will put the description how you can grab that and officially join the challenge. It's completely free. You just have to put in your email to get access to it. So once you gather your responses from day 3, day 4, and day 6, you're going to list out any common jargon or industry terms that you use within your industry, your niche, or your content pillars or brand topics. So this is going to help you decide whether or not you're going to use these words. It's also going to give you some awareness around terms that you might use and aren't realizing your ideal customer might not know what you're talking about. So in the workbook, I have on the left, you're going to write your jargon terms. And then on the right, you're going to write down what is the term that you're actually going to use. So if you're more geared to people that are brand new to whatever it is that you do, or they don't really have experience in it, or maybe they have a little bit of experience, you're going to want to use layman's terms for those jargon terms for them to be able to understand it and know what you're talking about. If you're geared towards people that are experts in what you do and you're just helping them reach the next level or learn a specific part of it, it might be more okay and make sense for you to use those jargon terms because of who you're speaking to understands those terms, right? So list those out. An example would be landing page. So in my industry in marketing, digital marketing, we create landing pages, which is essentially a one page on a website that promotes one specific thing. But if you're not in this industry, you probably don't know what that is, right? So I have to consciously remember that I need to either word it differently, explain it when I'm talking about it, or if I'm, say, marketing something that is about that, I'm going to use terms that is more based on what my ideal person would be searching for, or how they would think about it. So say I wanted to create a program where I teach people how to create a landing page, so a one pager of a website, and it was to help them create a freebie. So a freebie is another jargon term. It can also be called a lead magnet, an opt-in. Basically, it's something that we give people, such as this challenge, in exchange for an email. So it's something that's free. All you have to give is your email, right? That's a freebie, an opt-in, or I forgot what the other one was, but a lead magnet. The purpose of that is to grow your email list. Now that could be another jargon term, right? Your email list is the list of people's emails that you have that then you're going to send them amazing tips, content, keep them engaged, and sell to them whatever it is that you do, right? So if I was going to teach a program on that, the jargon version of that would be something like create a lead magnet landing page and grow your email list. Unless you're in what I do and I'm targeting people that are like already in that world, you're not going to want that because you're probably not even going to know what that is. If instead I said, get more customers in 2 weeks, that will probably be a lot more appealing. And I'm not giving you the jargon version of what it is. I'm giving you what you're actually wanting. And then throughout that process, I'll explain what these different things are and why you need them in place, right? So that's why you want to list out different jargon terms that are common in your industry. You can even ask people that are close to you. I know, for example, my fiance works in the special ed education department, and he'll say certain terms that I've been like, what does that mean? Because we're in completely different industries, right? So someone that's close to you like that you like have conversations about work and what you do, that sometimes they're like, what are you talking about? That would be a good place to get an idea of what some of these terms are. You can also Google like jargon marketing terms or just marketing terms, and that'll probably give you an idea. And then a lot of times when we are so deep into what it is we do, right, we don't realize that that's not a common term. So something you could also do is, once you have that list, ask a couple of people that are close to you, or even your current or past clients, and ask them if they know what these things mean, or ask them if they knew what it meant before they worked with you, right? Okay. So now that we got that, we have your list of jargon terms and the term that you're going to use instead, or if you are going to use those terms. Number 3 is I want you to gather your answers from the lesson day 5, which was about your offers. So I have a list of questions here that you're going to go through for each of your offers. Again, you can click the link in the description to download the actual workbook and be able to fill this out, or you can just write what I'm saying. So you're going to list out each offer name, the different ones that you put together in that offer lesson on day 5, or any of the ones that you already have that you're currently offering or thinking about offering. If you have a landing page, see, I probably shouldn't have said that, to your page. So if you have a page that talks about what that offer is, put the link there so you just have it. And then here's a couple questions to answer about it. How do you refer to this offer? So what do you actually call it when you're talking about it? Is it coaching? Is it a learning experience? Is it a keynote? Is it a workshop? Is it a experience? Is it a retreat? So I know I've worked with a lot of clients that don't want a certain program called a certain something, right? So I have one client that works with corporate companies, training their leadership, and they call all of their trainings learning experiences. And that is a very well-known term in their industry. So that's why it's really important for us or whoever they're working with to know that is how they refer to it. Because if they randomly referred to it as a like in-person training or a learning day or like something random, right? It would be like, why would they call it that? It doesn't make sense for the industry that they're in. So you want to get really clear about that. Also, if you want one of your programs to have a certain vibe and experience to them, you're going to want to avoid certain terms, right? So if, which that's the next question, how do you not refer to this offer? So if there's certain ways that people describe this type of thing or that you've seen before that you don't like or don't want it to be called, you can put that there. So an example of this would be if you do very intimate in-person retreats with, say, like up to 15 people, and your marketing team or your marketing person refer to it as a conference, that doesn't mean the same thing, right? And that would give people the idea of something very different than what it actually is. So you want to be very specific about that. And again, this is something that can evolve as time goes on. If you get copy back, someone wrote something for you and it refers to what you do with a certain word that you're like, oh, that's not, that doesn't align with how I want this to come across, then you can add that to your list of this is not how we refer to this specific offer. And you can do this, you're going to do this for each individual offer, but if there's certain things that across the board we don't say, or we do say, then you can put that as well. So for example, one of my clients doesn't like the word free or freebie. He likes the word complimentary. So those are two very different vibes, and making sure you're clear about not using that or using that is going to just help with that consistency of your brand overall. What do you call the people that purchase this offer? So some companies or people refer to the people that buy from them as customers or clients or mentee, or have like some sort of cute name. So decide that for each of your offers and make sure that it's consistent. Also decide what you do not call them. So if you refer to your clients as clients, you don't want something going out saying our customers, right? Because it's just a different vibe. It's a different meaning. how would you describe each of your offers? So describe it in detail, what it is, what the transformation is, and that way those key points and those key words will be things that potentially someone else can use, or when you're just like not in a creative space, you'll be able to go back and use the information that you wrote there. And then list any additional word rules that you'd like to follow for either one offer or all of your offers. So this is all completely up to you. I think one of the best ways to do this is to write out anything that you know right off the bat. But then it's really just going to be something that grows with you as you continue creating content or working with people that help you create your content. These things are going to get more refined and more clear as time goes on. Okay. Oops. Okay. So then go through that, answer any for all of your offers, however many you have. I included 5 spots for it in the workbook, but if you have more, you can just print more pages or do it in a notebook. So the 4th question is, I want you to gather your answers from day 9, which is your vibe and your voice. And I have a little section here with a couple different columns. So in the left column, you're going to write any terms that refer to the vibe or the voice that you're wanting to portray. Once you pull that from day 9 and write out your terms for your vibe and your voice, I want you to write any terms that align with that term and any terms that don't align with that term that you don't want to use. So, for example, say one of your words was you're friendly. You want to have a really friendly vibe. You want to be welcoming. You want people to feel safe with you and supported and like you're their go-to girlfriend, right? So terms that align with that might be, you can think about literally any point that you would be talking to them. So maybe you always say hi or hey, and you wouldn't say hello or greetings or dear. Those each convey different vibes, right? Some are more casual, more friendly, and some are very professional. You can also decide that you're different based on where it's going out. So maybe in your free content, you're very friendly and like that, but then with your corporate clients, maybe you have a more serious vibe and voice that you use. So decide that for yourself, write down all those vibes and voices that you chose, and then write down any terms that align with it and don't align with it. For number 5, I want you to gather your answers from day 12, which is your audience and your ideal customer avatar. So you're going to list out any terms that your audience or customer or client would use. And then you're also going to list out any terms that they would not use. And from there, you'll decide how much you want your voice to align with their voice. So, for example, I started working with this apparel company, and they have a physical store. So they have actual Yelp and Google reviews, right? So I was able to go through those reviews and pull out different terms that their clients use because they actually wrote it in their reviews, right? Based on that, you can kind of figure out the things that they would not say or that would be very off-brand. So if you're trying to convey like, I'm one of you, I'm one of your friends, we're in this together type of vibe, you're probably going to use similar terms that they use. Of course, you don't want to like completely change how you talk and all, but you might realize that there are certain things you say that maybe you thought you shouldn't say because you need to be more professional, but then maybe you realize, well, that's how my clients actually talk too. And they might feel more comfortable and connected with me if they realize like we speak the same language, right? So write down any terms that they use and that they don't use. And then I want you to go through and circle any of the ones that you want to use and cross out any of the ones you don't want to use. And this will also be really helpful as you're hiring and having other people work with you. If you're able to give them a list of words that you're like, using these words are going to help you be more on brand and sound more like me or my company. And using any of the don't use words would be like, it clearly didn't come from me. I would never say that, right? Or I wouldn't say it in that way. Okay. So question number 6 is about cursing. So everyone has their own opinion on cursing, right? When it comes to your own personal brand, that's actually a part of it too. So decide for yourself, do you curse in public in general? Or are there certain mediums that you are okay with cursing on and then others that you're not? So maybe you might curse sometimes within your podcast or your lives, but you would never write that in a caption or you wouldn't put it in an email. Or maybe you curse all the time across everything, right? Or maybe you never curse. Maybe there's certain words that you're okay with using, and then there's certain words that you're not okay with using. So having those understood and explained too. And when this really comes into play is it's all part of your personal brand, right? So if you're someone that is dropping F-bombs all the time, and then you bring on someone to help you write more content for you, and all of a sudden you never curse, that would be pretty obvious that that's not coming from you, right? You want it to sound like you. Not the perfect polished version of you, but how you actually are, how you're going to be when someone meets you in person. That's what you want it to sound like. So ideally, this is what you currently already do. Another question, do you allow guests to curse on your platform? So say you interview people or people can comment on your stuff. Do you allow that? So I know certain podcasts will either bleep it out or remove it or tell the guests ahead of time, hey, I don't allow cursing on my platform. I have a lot of moms that listen with their kids there or whatever, or maybe you don't curse. Like I don't really curse very much, but I allow my anyone I'm interviewing to talk how they would normally talk, and that's just my own rules that I follow, I guess. So that's completely up to you, right? And then write down any other rules or standards that you want to have in place around cursing. And again, you can evolve this as time goes on. Maybe something happens and you're like, oh, that was not okay, or I wasn't okay with that, or I don't like the backlash I got from saying this. I'm not going to do that again. The more you just go on and create more content, the more you'll be able to better define this. Number 7, some words are commonly misspelled or can be spelled several different ways. So I want you to write any of these words that come up for you or that you frequently use in your content. I want you to write how you spell them. So you can look back through your old captions or anything you've written and see if there's words that are commonly misspelled or have different spellings, especially words that like have a hyphen in them. Do you capitalize the second word or not? Do you want to just follow what that official style guide you chose said? So this is where that'll come in. I think the biggest thing is when there are multiple spellings for a word, or different ways that you can write it, that the biggest thing is when you write it multiple times and you write it in different ways. Or if you write it a certain way and then someone on your team is writing it a different way, it's not going to have that consistency throughout everything you do, right? Okay. Okay, number 8. I want you to decide how to use cap casing. So answer the questions below. For titles, how do you do that? Do you write titles in all caps? Do you only capitalize certain words? What words do you not capitalize? How do you decide that? So decide that here so it can be consistent throughout everything you do. Some people also only write in all lowercase or all caps? So is that you? Do you want everything, no capital letters, or maybe even for a certain project, you want all caps or all lowercase? I know some artists will do that with like a certain album or a certain song. Everything is going to be in one or the other. So all of these different things just affect the vibe that you're putting out and how people are going to perceive you and your content and your offers. How do you decide what to capitalize? And then just write down any other rules or standards that you want to have in place around cap casing. Okay, number 9, you'll decide which emojis you'll use and how to use them. So we can use emojis in our social media captions and emails, in your subject line, on your website. So first off, decide, do emojis align with your brand? Is there anywhere that you would use emojis? And when is that appropriate? So maybe you'll use emojis in your captions and a subject line in a newsletter, but you're not going to use it when you create a website page, or you're not going to use it when you respond to a client. So decide what makes the most sense for you so you can have these parameters in place that eventually someone else can follow, right? If you are going to use emojis, which emojis align with your brand? So I like to use any of the pink ones, the sparkly ones, the happy type ones, the unicorn one. So you can put like the actual emoji of which ones you want to use, that when someone sees it, they're like, oh yeah, she wrote that. She always uses that emoji, right? Versus you want to also create a list of emojis that you never use. Like maybe you would never use the spider emoji unless it was like Halloween, or you wouldn't use like, I know with ChatGPT, they love the rocket ship emoji for some reason. And they want to put it with everything, but the client that's for wouldn't really use a rocket ship emoji. So knowing that and having those parameters in place is going to help you to be able to sound like the client, right? And then just write down any other rules or standards that you have in place around emojis. And it could also be, maybe these emojis are okay for this platform, but then only these ones are okay for this. You know, you get to decide and make your own rules. And again, you can update it as you go. So that is everything. Now you have everything that you need to be able to put into your writing style guide for your personal brand. Go back through that. You can pull out all of that and put it on a separate place, or just use this PDF as your guide because it has the explanations of what different things are. Review it with anyone that's on your team that writes or creates content for you so that they know what to expect, and ask them to, if anything comes up that was mentioned anywhere in here. So for example, If they're writing a word that has multiple spelling versions, ask them to bring that to you if it comes up so that you can let them know what is the correct thing and you can update your writing style guide versus them just guessing and then you don't know what one they're using. And then you work with someone else and they have to try to figure out what they've used. Anytime you make a change or an update, you want to go back and update your writing style guide. If you have anything already written, so for example, from day 10, you should have your personal brand statement / social media bio. And then from day 11, you should have your about. Go back through those now with your writing style guide and make sure that they're written in the voice that you're wanting and that they're written following all the rules and the parameters that you put in place. Going through those might also give you more things that you need to add to your writing style guide. Maybe realize, oh, actually, I refer to this offer in this way, or I use this word a lot, and that actually really makes it sound like it's from me. You'll want to put those in your writing style guide as well. So like I said, if you want the actual workbook for this and the replay, just put in your name and your email in the link that I put. That will go to, you'll be able to log in my website and get that workbook and all the replays. And that is everything I have today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next Tuesday.